Hi there, welcome to another educational video from Screams and Echoes. Alan Ormsby might not be among the most famous names in horror, but his influence on the genre is undeniable. Today we're going to take a look at one of the genre's most underappreciated contributors. A writer, makeup artist, director, and sometimes actor, Alan Ormsby put an indelible mark on cult cinema, collaborating with some of the most inventive minds in horror. His career spans decades, and while he often worked in the shadows of bigger names, his contributions helped shape the landscape of horror in the 1970s and beyond. Born on December 14, 1943, Ormsby grew up a fan of classic Universal monsters and Hammer horrors. While attending the University of Miami in Florida for theater, he befriended a fellow student, Bob Clark. The two would go on to work together on several projects over the years. Ormsby's journey into the macabre began when he and Clark were inspired by the popularity and independent spirit of George Romero's Night of the Living Dead. This motivated the pair to develop 1972's ultra-low-budget Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things. Ormsby co-wrote the screenplay with Clark, who directed the film under the name Benjamin Clark. Ormsby not only contributed to the script, but also provided makeup effects, and perhaps most notoriously, played the film's lead role. The character Alan, a pretentious theatre director who drags his young troupe to a deserted island for a séance only to awaken the dead, was so off-putting in his conceited ineptitude that even Ormsby disliked him. Though made on a shoestring budget and largely ignored upon its release, the film has gained a cult following, often praised for its eerie atmosphere and grim sense of humour. It was one of the earliest films to expand on the modern zombie as ghoul concept popularized by Romero's progenitor. Ormsby's partnership with Bob Clark continued in 1974 with a chilling Vietnam War-era film written under the working title The Veteran, though ultimately released as Death Dream. Also known as Dead of Night, Death Dream tells the story of a soldier who returns home to his grieving family, who had been told he had been killed in action. This results in the revelation of a horrifying secret. With its melancholy tone and haunting social commentary, Death Dream is often considered one of the most underrated horror films of its time. The timing of its production and release, coming toward the end of hostilities in Vietnam, helped to propel Death Dream from drive-in theatre fodder to mainstream release. That same year, Ormsby took on a slightly different kind of project with Deranged, Confessions of a Necrophile, a film inspired by the crimes of Ed Gein, starring veteran actor Roberts Blossom in the lead role. Co-directed by Ormsby and Jeff Gillen, his co-star from Children Shouldn't Play with Dead Things,
I peed my pants. I peed my pants.
Deranged was grittier and more disturbing than other Gein-inspired films like Psycho or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, providing an opportunity for Ormsby to delve deeper into his beloved makeup effects. The unsettling visuals gave the film an uncomfortable verisimilitude, courtesy of Ormsby and his protégé, a young man by the name of Tom Savini. But Ormsby's love for makeup effects and writing wasn't limited to films. In 1975, he wrote Movie Monsters, a how-to book designed for young horror fans. Filled with behind-the-scenes details, step-by-step monster makeup guides, and Ormsby's own illustrations, Movie Monsters was a gateway into horror for an entire generation of kids, fascinated by the creatures of classic cinema. The book covered screen legends like Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman, providing instruction on how to achieve those classic looks with simple household products, while also giving young readers a deeper appreciation for monster movies and the craft that goes into making them. Around the same time, Ormsby designed one of the most unique horror-themed toys of the 1970s, Hugo, Man of 1,000 Faces. This creepy-looking, bald, puppet-like doll came with a set of disguise accessories, allowing kids to transform Hugo into various characters using wigs, fake scars, mustaches, and more. The toy capitalized on Ormsby's love for theatrical makeup, and though it was an unusual concept, Hugo remains a nostalgic and somewhat eerie cult favorite among vintage toy collectors today. While Ormsby thrived in independent horror, he also had a hand in more mainstream film projects. He contributed uncredited rewrites to Bob Clark's 1982 nostalgic teen sex romp, Porky's, and was the primary writer on My Bodyguard, a well-received coming-of-age drama from 1980.
It'll be like Meatballs. I'll be Bill Murray and you'll be that kid that no one remembers. 110, please.
He was also in My Bodyguard. Terrific film. What the hell is his name?
Makepeace. Chris Makepeace. That was the kid from Meatballs. Thank you.
These films may not have been horror, but they showcased Ormsby's ability to craft strong characters and compelling narratives regardless of genre. However, horror called him back in 1982 when he was hired to write the screenplay for Cat People, a remake of the 1942 Val Lewton-produced horror classic. Though Ormsby wrote the script with thoughts of David Bowie as the male lead, and a story that was aligned with the original, the final screenplay was heavily revised by director Paul Schrader, who cast Malcolm McDowell as the male lead and made the film essentially a remake in name only. Regardless, with this credit, Ormsby's involvement further solidified his reputation in genre filmmaking. In 1985, when Bob Clark declined to direct another horror film, despite the success of Black Christmas a decade earlier, he suggested Ormsby to helm Popcorn, a meta-horror film about a cursed film festival. However, due to behind-the-scenes conflicts, he was replaced during production, and Mark Herrier took over as director. Despite the troubled production, Popcorn has since gained a loyal following, thanks in part to its unique premise and love for classic horror cinema, featuring several entertaining movie-within-a-movie segments that were directed by Ormsby and serve as his contribution to the finished project. Coincidentally, Ormsby's son Ethan appears in the film as the two-headed costumed audience member. Through the years, Alan Ormsby's name has popped up in a variety of projects. In addition to contributing to Bob Clark's sequel to Porky's, Ormsby also wrote the kid-safe karate film The Little Dragons, the crime-action thriller The Substitute, and even contributed to Disney's animated Mulan. He's delved into television, writing the family-friendly science fiction TV movie Not Quite Human, and episodes for popular series such as Nash Bridges and The District. Though he eventually stepped away from filmmaking, Ormsby's legacy endures. His early collaborations with Bob Clark laid the foundation for modern independent horror, and his willingness to experiment with different genres showcased his range as a writer. For horror fans, his name may not be as widely recognized as some of his contemporaries, but his impact on the genre is undeniable. Alan Ormsby didn't just write horror, he helped define it. From zombies to cat people, Vietnam War ghosts to cursed film marathons, Alan Ormsby's work was always inventive, often unsettling, and undeniably influential. As always, thank you for joining us on yet another journey into the dark side of cinema. Be sure to subscribe and click like on this video. And don't forget to check out the cool designs from our sponsor, orzanatees.com. For Screams and Echoes, this is Luciana Forenza. I'll see you next time.